Alright, thank you guys for tuning in. Today's video is going over the FractalMatix Expert Advisor, how and why it works. Now, I've had a lot of people come to me and ask, Dylan, I'd rather just close out these trades uh, that the Expert Advisor has running than leave them open, which to me really doesn't make any sense, but I might as well make this video just to show you guys how and why it works. Hopefully you gain a little more trust as well, just knowing that, knowing how it works, obviously, and knowing when it'll take a trade, why it's taking the trade, so forth. So, if you'd like to learn more information on the FractalMatix Expert Advisor, or if you have absolutely no idea what I'm even talking about, check out ForexIaPro.com. We have a tab on Expert Advisors. Check it out. You can learn about them and also learn more about the FractalMatix Expert Advisor that we have coded. So, to start this video off, I'm going to be explaining how and why the Expert Advisor trades when it trades. So it is a great example of price action. It is price action at its finest. This Expert Advisor runs off of strictly price action and does everything automatically, hands-free. So I'm going to be reviewing the trades that it took over the past week and why it may have taken the trades that it took. To give you an idea, this is the area, this is the range in which the Expert Advisor has traded, or at least what I'm going to be commentating over today. So I started the Expert Advisor up on Sunday and I released it to our clients on Sunday as well. I started it up before the clients, so I may have gotten this sell on AUD/USD before they did, but I know they had actually a lot of buys on the AUD/USD as well, and I'll tell you why that is. But first of all, looking at the chart right now, why would I be on the AUD/US dollar 15-minute chart if we plug in the Expert Advisor on the 30-minute time frame? So the Expert Advisor is programmed to run on the 15-minute, not run, but it's programmed to analyze the structure of the 15-minute chart, of the 15-minute time frame. So even though we set it up on a 30-minute time frame, the Expert Advisor itself will be analyzing the structure of the 15-minute time frame and the 30-minute. I'm sorry, I think I said the 1 hour. We set the AUD/USD up on the 30-minute time frame, but like I said, the structure will be analyzed on the 15-minute time frame. So we started with Sunday here. It took a sell on the AUD/USD right around 0.795 area, right below 0.795. So it was right in here. It was at this M formation. And what we can see here is basically why. I'll ask you guys, why do you think the Expert Advisor sold right here? Now, I'll give you a hint. If you go back into our videos. Oh, wow. If you go into our videos and check out signature trade, our signature trade, do you see it? Can you spot it? Right here. Wedge formation, breakout of the wedge to the high, in this case the high of the previous day. Now the expert advisor logged this fractal, and noticed that it broke above the high of the previous day. Not by much, but it's a robot, so it does its thing. It doesn't flinch. It does what it needs to do when it needs to do it. So right here was the high of the previous day. You can see we just barely made it above the high of that previous day, and the robot logged that as a sell, and come London session breakout, it logged another fractal, the M formation right here, come London session. Now, upon logging these two fractals in time, it noticed that it had a higher possibility of the trend reversing than it did continuing up. So what it did was open one sell position right here. Now it didn't have enough time to open any more sell positions because I have it set to sell every 15 minutes as it's above the high of the previous day. We can see that it only pierced the high once, so it only sold one time within a 15-minute time frame, or within a 15-minute span. So to give you a better idea of what I just said, the 15 minutes, the 15-minute interval is if the, for example here, here's the uptrend. We can see an uptrending market structure here, and then it kind of levels out in this area. But to give you an example of what I meant by the 15-minute trading interval, as long as price, so for example, this was a sell. It took a sell on odd US dollar at this position at this price. Price then came down and broke the low of the previous day. Okay, here's the low of that previous day. Now what we can see is upon breaking that low, a W formation formed here. Now the expert advisor logged that as well, logged that fractal in time, and noticed something about the trend. Noticed that it had a better opportunity to start buying at the low of the previous day. So once the price broke below the low of the previous day, every 15-minute candle it will place a sell. Excuse me. On the 15-minute chart, every 30 minutes, so every 2 candles, it'll place a buy. This is even confusing me at times because it's so complicated. Okay, so as long as the price, as long as the expert advisor registers the trend as having a higher probability of moving upwards and price retraces below the low of the previous day, then the expert advisor will buy every 30 minutes that price is below the low of the previous day. It will take buy positions at 1.1% risk. So 1.1% risk of the entire account. So if you have, let's say, a $1,000 account, I believe the max will be 0.01 to 0.02 depending on your leverage of your broker. So the expert advisor will constantly open buy positions every 30 minutes as long as price is below the low of the previous day and the trend has a higher advantage or possibility of moving upwards. So what do we see? We can see price moved up a bit, but then it came down. What happened? What did the expert advisor do? Well, let's not jump ahead of ourselves quite yet, because I haven't explained the trailing stop. Now, I've had to make this video over like 3 times trying to explain the trailing stop because it's super complicated, but hopefully I won't mess up this time. So the expert advisor sold right here, correct? Now what the expert advisor is trying to do is every 31 pips it places, okay, so the expert advisor will place this sell position automatically with a 90 pip stop loss at a 1.1% risk of your entire balance. So as your account grows, your lot size will grow as well automatically. So this, when the EA sells here, the 90 pip stop loss will be activated, and it will be continually at 90 pips as long as the price doesn't move below 31 pips. So if that makes any sense, the 90 pip stop loss will stay where it is until price or until the trade moves into 31 pips of profit. Now at 31 pips of profit, the expert advisor will place the stop loss on the trade to break even once it's at 31 pips. Okay? Now, every 6 pips after price is moved to break even, every 6 pips that the price moves into profit, the stop loss will be moved 6 pips into profit along with the trend. Okay, so to give you a visual example of this, here is the stop loss. Okay, the stop loss was moved into profit, or excuse me, to break even at 31 pips. So right about here, we moved the stop loss to, or the stop loss was automatically moved to break even once price hit this area. Once price moved into 31 pips of profit. Okay. Price then went down 15 pips. Now, the stop loss moves every 6 pips. So 6 times 2 is 12, right? So it only moved 15 pips. So the stop loss would have been moved 12 pips into profit. So 11, 12. 12 pips into profit. That is right around here. Let's measure that. Okay, yep, right around there. 12 pips of profit. Now, what happens is the price retraces, and what happens? You can see that price retraces, but it does not come back to hit our stop loss because it moved it only 12 pips into profit. But what do you see happen? Although it only moved it 12 pips into profit, price kept moving down, right? So our stop loss was safe. So after 31 pips, or after another 12 pips, so let's do 24 pips. 24 pips would be right around there. Price would have moved 12 more pips into profit. So, or the stop loss would have moved 12 more pips into profit. So, stop loss would have moved to right here. And then what do you see? Price came back up, but look, our stop loss was safe by 3 pips. What happens again? Price comes down. $22 pips. So let's say 18. 18 pips, that would be 3 6-step increments. 3 6-pip step increments. My goodness, this is so confusing sometimes. So, it would have moved down 18 pips. So right around here. That's when we would have finally been stopped out. We would have made 42 pips, about 42, 43 pips on that position, okay, on our sell position. And I had someone say, we're losing pips. We're losing pips because we're not closing out, for example, right here. Well, look at that. If you would have closed out right here, you wouldn't have let the robot do what it needs to do. You would have just closed out right there, and price came all the way back down to this area and let the stop loss move itself. Everything was done hands-free. So for you to worry about losing profits is silly. Okay, the robot is made to be hands-free and, not a liability. Okay, you don't have to be constantly monitoring it. Okay, that's why it's so risk-friendly. It's very very low risk. I made it so it was very low risk. Now let's move on to, finally got past the stop loss explanation of that. That was very, very complicated. Very complicated stuff. Okay. While that sell was going on, the robot was buying positions. Okay. So just imagine the sell in the background as I'm talking right now. Okay. So price, like I said, like I explained earlier, the fractal W formation formed here, and price was below the low of the previous day for about two, maybe 3 hours. So it took 5 or 6 buy positions in here, the EA, the robot, at this price as it was retracing downwards. As it retraced downwards and consolidating in this area, the expert advisor continually bought until the price moved back up above the low of the previous day. So price then moved back down, and then what happened? What do you see? Well, we see price moved below the low of the previous day here and started buying once again. It's programmed to do exactly that. Now we can see price was below the low of the previous day for quite some time. It opened up various sell positions, buy positions. It opened up many buy positions. I think it opened up the max buy positions that it was allowed to open up. Meanwhile, price had not come into profit yet. So we're still floating. We have not closed out any buy positions at all. Even though we could have closed out these in profit, okay, we're still floating these. Price came below the low of the previous day, started buying again. Now, price came below the low of the previous day once again. You see here, it broke the low. Here's the low of that previous day. It broke below it for just about 2 hours and took maybe 1 or 2 buy positions if they were available. Now, the expert advisor maxes out at 20 open trades. I can program it to open as many as I want, but to keep it risk orientated, to keep the risk low, we have it open only 20 trades max. Now, the low is broken, and 1 or 2 buy positions opened here as well if you were able, if your account allowed it to. So if you had the positions available. Now, what do you see happen? The expert advisor was correct. These positions here went into about 36 pips of drawdown. This cluster of positions. This cluster of positions went into about 20 pips of drawdown. Maximum at one point of time. And then price reversed. And all these positions in here in one candlestick all went into profit. Okay, I believe this was a news event that caused that. Now that is exactly how this expert advisor is programmed to function. Okay, so it will be okay during high impact news events. You don't need to monitor it at all. It'll do its thing like it did here. It's made to be a hands-free experience. So yeah, I mean, that was really quite complicated to explain. You can understand the complication behind programming it, but all in all, it has been functioning great. It has been doing everything that it is supposed to do. Like I said, it does work off of the highs and the lows. So the expert advisor was buying in here, even though price was trending down. Why is that? Because the expert advisor had logged the past 2 weeks and saw that it had a better chance, price had a better chance of continually moving up instead of continuing its descent here. So it registered a macro uptrend and saw that macro uptrend had more potential than this micro downtrend. So if you guys don't understand, or if you're getting lost in the language that I'm using, micro, macro, fractals, whatever, like I said, check out ForexIAPro.com. We have our education there. You'll learn so much. Everything we teach, it's right on there. So the expert advisor was programmed to analyze micro and macro structures within the 15-minute time frame as well. So I had one person say